I went on a 26-hour overnight trip with some friends, 200 plus hours later, and I'm still recovering. That is my reality. Hey, hi, and hello, introvert and neurodivergent folk. Let's unite because I'm sure we can all agree that socializing is hard. This video is essentially a part 2 of my girls trip vlog, which I will link in the description box below. Go check that out if you can. And basically, I just want to say that it was a lot. The trip was exhausting, especially coming from the perspective of an autistic person. It was hard. So let's talk about it. Why is socializing hard? Well, the biggest reason is outlined right here in the DSM-5 for the diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, which says that autistic people have persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction. Alright, but what the heck does that mean? There's a lot of nuance to this. It's a pretty hefty section for an autism diagnosis, so I won't get into all the nuances of it, but let me outline some of the big reasons why autistic people struggle with social communication and social interaction. Number one, we have more difficulty reading and interpreting social cues. Two, we have an impaired ability to read the thoughts, feelings, perspectives, and intentions of other people. Three, we have more difficulty understanding the unwritten social rules. A lot of non-autistic people find such rules sort of intuitive. For autistic folk, that is not the case. Four, it is harder for us to initiate, co-regulate, and repair interactions with other people. And five, since interacting with others requires so much thinking, right? We have to think about all of these things. It inevitably just taxes the brain and heightens our anxiety in social situations. So within the context of my overnight trip, what this means is that for the entire 26 hours of traveling, I was in a mode of sort of hyper awareness, hyper vigilance of just thinking and cataloging all of these little minute social details and trying to make sense of them. I will give one example in particular that I really remember my brain kept latching onto throughout the entirety of the trip. There were four of us who went on this trip, and I kept noticing that the three of them would be walking down the sidewalk, and the one of me would be a few steps behind. I kept noticing this happening. And what my brain does is it latches onto that as a data point, and then it analyzes that data point against the thousands and thousands of data points that have been offered up by social media, by movies, by TV, by books, yada yada, in which all of media essentially says that when you're in a group of friends, if you're not together, if you're not all walking side by side, then anybody else is considered an outsider, a straggler. Just think about Mean Girls when they're all walking down the hallway and she like trips over into the garbage can. Yeah, that's what my brain is latching onto, and it's analyzing those data points and trying to make sense of the situation, trying to figure out like, okay, well, I'm walking behind everybody else. Does that make me an outsider? Does that mean they don't want me here? So now I'm also just like thrumming with anxiety because I'm already in an unfamiliar place. I already have enough anxiety going on, but I'm also just overthinking this one single data point and trying to make sense of what that means for me in the context of this social event, right? And I do want to say that the friends that I went with, they're good people. I trust them wholeheartedly. And I know that this outsider mentality is not really what's happening. They invited me on this trip, and I trust that they invited me there because they wanted me. And I know that. I don't have any negative emotions associated with this data point, but it's the fact that the data point exists. It's the fact that my brain latches onto this data point. This is what makes socializing hard. It's because I can't not think about these social things as data points like this and then analyzing it against all the other data points in the world. On top of that, I also have ADHD, and so going on a trip like this, it's an adventure. It's something new. It's something novel. It's something that my ADHD is like, yes, dopamine, let's go have fun. But then that directly contradicts with my autistic side. It's like, no, routine. Let's go home. Let's go back to bed. There's too much sensory input, there's too much going on. It's exhausting. So there's this internal battle going on between my ADHD and my autism that's just like adding a whole nother layer of overthinking and overanalyzing. And when you're stuck in this sort of mode of over analyzing for a long period of time, eventually your brain just freaks out. It starts to overheat like a computer that you've been gaming on for too many hours. And that has consequences. For me, those consequences are very physical, they're very real, and they're very obvious. It usually starts with just an underlying thrum of anxiety, and then it builds to having heightened cortisol because I'm just in a heightened state of stress, and that leads to having more inflammation in the body, which makes me more susceptible to getting sick and having a weakened immune system. And then you combine all of that together, and then all of a sudden, it's just full on fatigue. Everything is fatigued because it's been overworking, it's been on overdrive for so many hours. And for me, once this fatigue hits, it affects a lot more than just like, oh, I'm tired. It has these sort of physical components where like my muscles get achy, I get a headache, my gut starts acting up. Sometimes I also get really feverish or really shaky, or my blood sugar drops. All these things are such a physical side effect of struggling through socializing. I mean, Exhibit A, I am here. It's been over a week since I got back from this trip. I'm still fighting off a cold. That is how intense and real these consequences are. All that being said, time for just a little bit of reflection on this trip as a whole. So I've talked about kind of the downsides, the things that I struggled with, but I also really want to clarify that two things can exist at once. I came home from this trip absolutely feeling tired, but I also was incredibly happy. Those two things can exist at once. You can be dealing with physical consequences of socializing and yet still feel some sense of fulfillment, of contentment, of just overall joy. And that's what makes socializing worth it. Not always, but sometimes. And the key here is that I was traveling with people that I felt safe with. I trusted them. I don't feel the need to mask around them. I can go off and do my own thing or have my sort of neurodivergent quirks and they just accept it as is. They take it all in stride. But also, most importantly, the reason why I was able to enjoy this trip so thoroughly was because I had a lot of accommodations in place. And those accommodations were respected. That's a big thing too. It's not just that I had accommodations and that I was able to use them, but also they were respected and they were honored by the people around me. I would say that my favorite accommodations that helped the most were being able to wear my headphones the entirety of the trip. I had them around my neck the whole time. I just kind of popped them on whenever I felt like there was some sort of sensory input I couldn't deal with, or I just wanted to be regulated. Nobody questioned it. Nobody tried to tell me like, oh, take them off and take part of the conversation. Like, why are you ignoring us? No, they just respected it. Phenomenal. That's exactly what I was hoping for. And it was also the first time I was able to wear my headphones so comfortably in public spaces without overthinking it. And that was because I was surrounded by people who just accepted it. Also, being able to travel and go to places that revolve around my special interest just made the trip more enjoyable. There were actually things I was able to look forward to, which meant that my tolerance was a lot higher because I was able to do things that brought me joy. Things like going to the Hello Kitty Cafe and being surrounded by all of these different shades of pink, being able to go to different restaurants that were Asian based, and being able to share some of the like cultural aspects of that with the friends that I was with. That directly has to do with my special interests surrounding languages and culture. But then also probably the most important accommodation I had was that I was able to stay in the hotel room and have alone time while everybody else went and explored and did their own thing. I just stayed at the hotel for like an hour and a half, did whatever I felt needed to be done in that time, resting, breath work, some like organization stuff, just decompressing. That was a really important thing for me. I needed that recharge moment. For future trips, I think there are a few accommodations that I would change or modify. One being that I did not sleep on this trip at all, and so maybe bringing some sort of accommodations to help with my sleeping and my insomnia, things like eye mask or sleep meds would be really beneficial. Also, the fact that I got sick meant that I did not take care of my immune system properly. It was really hard to mask when sharing a hotel room between 4 people, and so maybe in the future either finding a way to mask anyways or just requesting a private room or even just bringing more vitamin C, immune boosters, that sort of thing might help in the short term. And then finally, I would say that taking one day off after the trip, we got back Wednesday. I took Thursday off. I think that next time I would probably even take a second day off, so take Friday off, which I think would just be best in the long run. So at the end of it all, I just want to say again that socializing is hard, socializing is exhausting, and there are very real, tangible, physical consequences to socializing when you're introverted, when you're neurodivergent, when you're autistic, when you're chronically ill, etc., etc. But with the right accommodations in place, and when you're socializing with people that you trust and feel safe and comfortable around, then it can absolutely be worth it. I had a lot of fun on my trip, and there might be things that I would do a little bit differently next time, but overall, I enjoyed it, and that's all that matters. So, thank you for watching. If you can relate, share your experiences down below. I would love to talk to you all about what makes socializing difficult for you, what accommodations you might use to overcome that or to maybe ease the consequences of that. But for now, have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!